Let's talk for a moment about Essay 2, your first sort of formalized essay, one that will involve the writing process, as to say, the planning, the drafting, feedback and workshops, revision, editing, and publication. You turn it in for a grade. We're going to repeat this process quite a few times this semester, but this is our first foray into it. So I thought I'd talk to you not only about the assignment, but my general suggestions for completing any writing assignment at the college level. So I am an endless tweaker of assignments. So the textbook Composition of Everyday Life has a chapter about remembering who you were, and I'm changing that to where you were. I think that I'm a big believer in sort of subtext, that when you're writing about one thing, deep down you're sort of writing about something else, the sort of the real thing that you're writing about. And so that kind of perspective is coming through in this assignment, and it will with Essay 3 as well. And I guess for that matter, Essay 5, the collaborative one. So I want to challenge you, just like the title of the essay says here, to write about a place that you call home. So I have this sort of question-answer format. I'm a relentless tweaker of assignment sheets as well, and this is my sort of latest attempt at writing one of those up. A location that says a lot about you and your identity. So yes, you're writing about a place that you call home. You're writing about a place, but I'm really sort of asking you to write about yourself, and sort of not only how you see yourself, maybe how others see you. So the first response I imagine that you may have is, oh, so I should write about my house, where I grew up, or where I currently live, or my favorite place to grow up. I bounced around a lot as a kid. I had lots of different bedrooms because we lived in lots of different apartments as a young man, and so maybe that was your experience as well. Do I want you to write about your house? No, not really. I know there's something more interesting to you, so I'm going to talk a little more about this right now. That there are wildly more interesting places that have shaped your identity, that over time have sort of had a sort of a cumulative effect on you, maybe important memories, that sort of thing. I'm going to challenge you in each and every essay that we write at the topic selection level to resist easy answers, to push back against that first idea that pops into your mind. Because most of the time we have these sort of knee-jerk reactions to, oh, well, this is a safe answer. This is one that lots of people have probably written about, so if I write about it, I'll be as successful as all those people. I need you to turn that part of your brain off, at least for me, at least for this class, because in a sort of esoteric, sort of theoretical sense, your audience is always going to be interested in topics that are generated from, really thinking deeply and brainstorming about the task at hand, the assignment. But in a much more sort of tactile or practical sense, I don't want to read, I have 107 of you, I think. I don't want to read 107 essays about your house, or about your, the only place I feel alive is on the softball field, or whatever. We all sort of learn those lessons the same way, and so all the essays end up kind of sounding the same. And so when you pick really cliched places like, I don't know, the band practice room, places that sort of inform like a hobby of yours, or like your favorite sport, the putting green or the practice green, the football field, those sorts of things. We all sort of learn about our hobbies in the act of practicing them, and all the essays, all the sort of the larger takeaways, they tend to be the same. And I think I don't want to. I think it's dangerous for me to allow you to think that constitutes originality, or that constitutes a successful consideration of all the possibilities of topic selection. So I get this word here, and I didn't actually highlight it, but now I will. Cliche. If it feels like a cliche, it probably is a cliche, and I'm not really in this to have you spout off really predictable stuff. I'm not a 5-paragraph essay guy. I'm not someone who's interested in teaching you to write like everyone else writes. I'm interested in teaching you how to write like you, except better, if that makes sense. And that process, if I'm really, charged, and I take it seriously, if I'm to pull your identity out into your writing, if I'm to help you express yourself in a way that seems sort of authentic and true to who you actually are, and not who you maybe expect me to think who you are, if that makes sense, to sort of, be performative with expectations. that has to begin at the topic selection level. So again, please, I'm going to beg you. You can write on whatever you want. I'm not going to like really stop you from writing on any subject. But if you're going to write about your house, or if you're going to write about the football field, or if you're going to write about the place where you learn how to blank, you better write the best darn version of that essay I've ever seen. Otherwise, you're not really going to carve out anything interesting for yourself. Okay. That said, now that's a big caveat, but at the same time, you are going to be thinking and writing a lot about this place. A lot is sort of a relative term. You need to be able to write about it with detail. Most importantly, though, it has a distinct meaning for you that you can explain to readers. That's to say, it means something to you that it doesn't mean to anybody else. You know what I mean? We all learn hard work on the basketball court. We all learn the value of perseverance, while we practice anything. And so we all sort of have that, we come away with the same lesson. So what sort of places hold a distinct meaning for you? Okay, so I'll help you at any phase. I'm always an email away. If you want to bounce, lots of different topic ideas off me, that's great. I would love to have lots of email conversations with you about what constitutes a good topic. If you want a thumbs up or a thumbs down from me, the sooner the better. Run it by me. I'll tell you if I think it's a subject worthy of your time, and I'll tell you if it's not. I'm a fairly honest guy when it comes to that, brutally so sometimes, but I think you can handle it. So once you do choose a place, and please again involve me in that decision-making process, you do want to provide detail. You may want to research your place if you can. I can help you with that. I can point you in productive directions. We really haven't gotten to the how to research part of this class yet, but never a bad idea to get started down that path. I always like this question: how's it changed, or how hasn't it changed over time? So if you're writing about a place that you've been to over the years, well, I think that tracking changes is really interesting to sort of take a sort of observational eye towards your place and try to understand the ways that it's changing, or the ways maybe that it's staying the same. You can share specific moments and memories. These are my two favorite here. Different ways people can think about it. Just because it's a good place for you, is it a bad place for other people, or is it what does it represent to people that aren't you? And from that comes a sort of a, I'm banging my fists together here, you can't see me. It becomes a bit of a, there's a grind there. There's I think in contradictions lie great insight. So I always, I think I made a comment here. Yeah, the best essays will always complicate their subject matter. The worst essays will just be love letters. I'm going to probably say that in a number of different ways, but what I don't want, guys, is just a love letter to a location. Why is the best place ever? That's very, very simplified thinking. It's not a real critical exploration of anything. Frankly, it's sort of 8th grade level thinking. And even though some of you may be 8th graders, I want you to think a little further down the road than that. I like this one too, sort of zooming out and thinking about what the place contributes to the world, how it informs your sense of self, and how have you changed this place? So you can always, of course, investigate your own role in that place's sort of identity, especially if you've made contributions to it, or if you've added to its history. I think that could be an interesting way to go. What else can I tell you? I don't want this to go on for too much longer. By the time you turn in for a final draft, it will be 3 full pages in length. You should be writing much more than that anyway. I really don't enforce maximums. You can write as many pages as you want. You do have to, at least at the bare minimum, write 3 pages. Most of you, as I've said a couple of different ways, will be in APA format. So if you have any questions or need any help, well, let me pause and take a drink. Okay, thanks. I took a pause there. Too much Starbucks this morning. Let's see. We'll get into conversations of mechanics and audience. And then, it has to be on time. And I really want it to be these things: interesting, engaging, and fun in its approach. So I try to ask myself, where would I write about if I were handed this assignment? So my first answer would probably be the towpath, where I run. But I would also make it about how I get my kids, one or the other of my children, I make them get into the jogging stroller and come with me. You can read this list on your own, but my grandma's kitchen. I grew up near a reservoir where my dad and my pap and I went fishing a lot. Now, I see baseball field here, and you're probably going to think, well, he just said don't write about baseball fields. My dad was my coach, and my brother, played on teams as well. So as long as there's that extra step to it, not just I learned the value of teamwork, again, subtext is important. train tracks, where I spent a lot of time as a kid. I just remodeled my deck on the back of my house, and it was quite a slog, so it's just been on my brain, so I probably could write about that. Places I did lots of homework in college. Coffee shops. I've spent a lot of time in coffee shops. I spent a lot of time in restaurants and museums. Not as much. I mean, I've been to Alinea once. It's generally regarded as the best restaurant in at least America. It's probably like maybe the 5th or 6th best in the world. So I've only been there once. I could only afford to go there once in my life with my wife, and but it still felt amazing. And same with the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I've only been to it a few times, but I love it there. And then I've just given a list. I thought about previously successful iterations of this assignment, and so here are a few of them. I wanted to add one this morning. Which one was? Oh, I had a student write about an MGK concert. Machine Gun Kelly. So some students really like live music and like writing about that. So I think that was one of my favorites from I guess last year. Yeah. Going to if you know MGK at all, like his fans are very, very passionate about him, and so being sort of part of a pop-up community, I think that was a cool approach to this assignment. I also like the aspirational ones. You can read all these on your own, but a student not last year but the year before wrote about Korea. It was a she, it was a typo, where she hopes to study abroad, and I actually know this student. Her name is Erica, and she is actually in Korea now. So she wrote about a place she dreamed of going to, and how she knew it was going to feel like home, and guess what, it does. So I like ones that they're homes in the future. See how that's sort of outside the box thinking. That's just the sort of thing I'm looking for out of you guys. Places that have sort of historical significance as well as personal significance, those are always interesting as well. So if it's sort of a public institution, that sort of thing, like a library or a zoo or a stadium or sort of like a destination, that's really kind of fun too. At least it's that type of writing jumps off the page a little more than my house or some place in my high school. Okay, do not write a report. I just don't want X, Y, and Z at the end. There's a real danger in just writing a report. You need to think deeper, and that goes back to, if I can scroll for a second, to these sorts of questions about contradictions within it, particular contributions, individual contributions, that sort of thing. That will help you to resist writing just a report. Okay, and again, think a little harder about your topic than maybe that first instinct. In my face-to-face classes, I have my students write down their very first idea, and then I have them throw it out. And so I would encourage you to do the same thing. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Let's see. I'm here to help. I will review your Google Doc ahead of time if you'd like. We're going to take a while to brainstorm. There's some work that goes into the planning phase. You're going to write a draft of this essay, and you're going to show it to another student. That student's going to read it and give you their thoughts on it. And you're going to read another student's and give that student your thoughts on their draft. And then you're going to revise it for a grade that you will turn into me. And it'll be your first crack at employing the writing process, or at least the writing process in the ways that I conceive it. So lots of important sort of foundation building goes into this assignment. Lots of things that we will be scaffolding or scaling up as we go on. Every assignment is meant to sort of build off the previous one. And so this one is really sort of the initiation of that process. So I invite you to email me to initiate conversations with me about anything that is unclear or anything that I can help steer you with. I don't like handing out topics, of course, but if you send me a list of like 3 different ones, I'll tell you which one I think you could be the most successful with. This is not my first college composition rodeo. I've been teaching classes like this since the fall of '99, so since the 90s. So I know a good topic when I see one, or at least a topic that I think will work when I see one, and I would happily lend my perspective to you if you ask for it. Some students need me a lot. Some students need me not at all. Everybody can be successful. It's just a matter of how involved you make yourself in this assignment, and I hope that's very involved. So again, good luck. I'm really looking forward to seeing some of your first sort of polished writing from this assignment, and I absolutely encourage you to contact me if you have any questions whatsoever. Good luck, everybody.